time to epically own a cringe Yugi boomer once again. Parentheses, except he's completely right about everything. This is a new video, a fresh Yu-Gi-Oh drama video by Mr. MBT. Historically, I think with MBT, I agree with a lot of his points. He is reacting to what we talked about yesterday, which is Raron's video. I played Yu-Gi-Oh to prove it's ridiculous. And so I'm kind of excited to see if any of what we say kind of like aligns together. Historically, I feel like me and MBT have agreed on a lot of points. Not like him personally, but like we've watched his content before, and usually we align with a lot of what he says. So let's take a look. Let's see what he has to say. If you guys don't know my stance on like all this drama and like what's been going on in this commentary, essentially, right? Raron is a Hearthstone YouTuber. His intention was to try Yu-Gi-Oh for 10 hours. He played only for 4 because he couldn't stand the game, essentially. What Raron said was that Yu-Gi-Oh is way too hard for newcomers to come in and learn on their own. And I 100% agree with everything he said. Every kind of gripe that he had with learning the game, I 100% agreed. Let's see what it is. I'm excited. All right. Let me know how the volume is.
Well. Another Yu-Gi-Oh hater at it again. A big-ass 10 million sub account on the game that I've irrevocably tied my finances to. Well...
You're right. Yep. We have to... I mean, MBT is like one of the bigger YouTube Yu-Gi-Oh content creators, right? He is like one of the only creators I know anyway that really addresses and talks about... is very upfront and honest about like what he doesn't like about Yu-Gi-Oh, right? He likes rotation format. He thinks rotation should exist in Yu-Gi-Oh. He even went out of his way to make his own rotation format, right? Because power creep is a thing, because Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of problems inherently as a card game, right? Special summoning and having your only resource be the number of cards in your hand is different. It is different from many other card games. To a lot of people, like Raron, it is problematic, and it is, you know, just not to most people's taste when, you know, if you're coming from a different card game into Yu-Gi-Oh. It is not how most card games are played. How we play Yu-Gi-Oh is not how many other card games are played. And that's okay. Like, we can like the things we like, right? I think we've established that, like, it's okay if you like Yu-Gi-Oh the way it is. But you also have to understand, just from another person's perspective, that it's not like other card games. And to a lot of other people, they like to see card games and versus games where there is a back and forth, there is a dialogue, there is priority and turns being passed between player to player, and there's also a level of consistency that you get with other card games in terms of being able to see your win condition, being able to see your combo, and playing a game. A lot of times in Yu-Gi-Oh, like in a lot of the example matches that Raron shows, right, you lose the coin flip, and then you're just getting comboed for like 10-15 minutes, and usually it's a board that has enough negates or a floodgate or enough interaction to prevent the opponent from playing. And so that is what a lot of people would consider problematic for Yu-Gi-Oh, like in terms of it being a game and also being welcoming to newcomers, right? Everyone is entitled to their opinion, of course, and I understand like people like Yu-Gi-Oh the way it is. I like Yu-Gi-Oh for what it is, right? I grew up and got into card games through Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But I can also step back and recognize its flaws, because through Yu-Gi-Oh I learned other card games, and through other card games I realized that Yu-Gi-Oh is not like many others, and honestly I prefer a lot of the mechanics that exist in other card games. I do. But I like Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh will always have a special place in my heart, but it is different. He complains a lot that it's cringing. What do you think about learning curve in Yu-Gi-Oh? I think it's a learning wall. I think the skill floor for Yu-Gi-Oh and playing Yu-Gi-Oh well, competitively or competently, is really, really high. And it is way too high of an ask for normal people who, especially if they're going at it alone. I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh requires a lot of hooks in order for someone to be motivated enough to go out of their way to learn it on its own, which is either they need to be hooked by nostalgia, right? Which is the anime, heavily hooked by nostalgia, or if they have a coach or a friend or a community to help them teach and learn the game. Yu-Gi-Oh is really a lot of player expression. You can play the same archetype deck, but different card choices can drastically change how that deck can be played with the variations you can make. Not necessarily, though, right? Like, it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh is a blank canvas for player expression. In fact, Yu-Gi-Oh is probably one of the most net-decked card games in existence, because Yu-Gi-Oh has a pool of 20,000 like, not 20,000, but there's like tens of thousands of cards. It's in the tens of thousands of figures, right? And so it is the most net deck card game because people like to win. People play competitively, or at least they play with the aim and object to win. And so if I pick my fighting game character, if I pick my Yu-Gi-Oh archetype, I want to play elemental heroes, I'm going to look up the best elemental hero decks. And I'm going to pretty much just copy that. There's not a lot of, like, it's not like everyone or every archetype is some kind of blank canvas, everyone draws their own picture. A lot of the times you are following a formula, you're following a path that was set in front of you by someone who actually no-lifed the game and no-lifed that archetype and knows the ins and outs of it. That is a lot of the time. In other card games, I feel like there is more room for expression. There is more room for creativity because there are different things to consider. There's mana curve. There's the, obviously the objective, the win condition, combos of your deck, but also like just other card choices, because Yu-Gi-Oh is very archetypical, right? Yu-Gi-Oh is very tribal, right? Yu-Gi-Oh is very tribal. What that means is that in Yu-Gi-Oh there are hundreds of characters, and the characters represent themselves as archetypes. It's like a fighting game. You pick one character, and you're pretty much half your deck is built for you. As soon as you pick an archetype, pretty much half your deck is built for you. In other card games, it's not like that. In a lot of other card games, you have a wide card pool and a wide selection of different choices to put into your deck. And the overall like complaint about Yu-Gi-Oh with like, oh, I hate Baron de Fleur because it's so generic. Everyone can play Baron de Fleur. Well, in other card games, a lot of cards are generic. A lot of cards are generic, and that's where you do see creativity, because even though a lot of cards are generic, there are so many cards, and they still all have or help themselves go to different winning strategies, if that makes sense, right? So, and because there are so many generic cards, there is a lot of creativity in which cards do you pick, which cards do you put in your deck. Of course, card games, you're always going to net deck, but I think with Yu-Gi-Oh especially, when it comes to like, you have to pick your favorite archetype, you pick your favorite deck, and therefore, and from there, you net deck it and figure out like how to play this deck the best way, right? I feel like that is a very typical path that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players go down because it's easier. It's easier. It's easy to play Yu-Gi-Oh. It's hard to learn Yu-Gi-Oh. It's the same thing with learning a language. It's easy to talk, it's easy to speak and conversate. It's hard to learn the language, the grammar rules, the structure, the words and phrasings, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and watch and see what his thoughts are.
Well, you all know how we do here. Sleeve up your Chaos Gustav Sea Rider Dragons. It's time to Act Man again.
Honestly, the only part
Wait, the Act Man? Okay.
I really enjoyed was getting my Blue Eyes White Dragon. At least he looks cool.
Uh-oh. So if you're watching this, you've probably already watched this video. I played Yu-Gi-Oh to prove it's ridiculous. And first off, look at that thumb. I'm an amateur, man. Man's got similar subs to me. He's getting custom thumbs. I'm out here pulling thumbs out of my asshole.
Dude, that guy, Raran's thumbnails are really good. I don't know how he does it, but somehow he gets someone to draw just art for the thumbnail. And then he pushes out so many videos. Like, how often does he push out a video, dude? All of this, it's all like custom art. He's pushing like multiple videos a day. 10, 9, 7, 6, at least like almost once a day at this point, if not like every other day, maybe. That's crazy. That's insane. Some of them are like lazy, sure, and like they work, they're fine. It's not like, it's not wrong to be lazy. I'm lazy with my thumbnails. I'm lazy as hell with my thumbnails. But like all this custom art, that's a lot. I know that's something not a lot of people really care about here, but as a content creator, it's something I think is really, really impressive.
Wait. Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with Raran, he's a Hearthstone guy, which is frightening. See, this isn't some like general gaming YouTuber. This is a person who plays card games for a living. And like us,
Okay.
he plays a card game that peaked a long time ago.
Well, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is peaking right now. If I'm being honest, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is peaking right now. Like, I like to, like, yes, my opinion is that Yu-Gi-Oh will die in like 5 or 10 years. But Yu-Gi-Oh right now, at its current state, Master Duel is popping off. So many people are watching Yu-Gi-Oh content that never wanted to or never thought they could even get into the game just because Master Duel is so accessible. Right now, it is having a huge second win. I think Hearthstone is pretty much dead. Like, Raran is like apparently one of the last bastions in terms of Hearthstone content creators. And I don't think, but in general, like, Hearthstone had a huge heyday in terms of being streamed on Twitch. I used to watch Hearthstone streamers all the time. Reynad, Eloise, Rekful, Amaz, right? I watched all the Hearthstone content creators. I loved all of them, pretty much. I was so, like, tuned in. Kriparian, right? Forsen. I was so tuned into, like, Hearthstone and every personality that played it. The whole Twitch scene about it. I really, really enjoyed it. But I think it's, like, there's no way you can go back to that time. There's no way you can go back to that era on Twitch, and there's no way you can go back to that era on Hearthstone. But that's my opinion, and that's my opinion of not having played Hearthstone for a long time. We might revisit Hearthstone. I kind of want to. I agree the actual TCG, OCG is just expensive. Hearthstone is dead due to a lot of controversy and typical Activision Blizzard shenanigan. It's controversy, but it's also just hard to keep up, like, with the game. Master Duel's kind of pay to win, though. We'll talk about that. That's another video. Reason Yu-Gi-Oh is struggling to retain new players to play the actual card game. Yeah, the biggest struggle point for Yu-Gi-Oh is not retaining new players. It is retaining new players, but it's also creating new players, right? Right now, Master Duel is the best way that they could make new players, because new players are people who are basically not returning to the game, but checking out the game because of nostalgia. But that is short-lived in and of itself, right? Because nostalgia has a time limit, right? Does that make sense? Like, nostalgia has a time limit. It is when the animes, because there is not going to be a standard Yu-Gi-Oh anime, when enough time passes, less people have nostalgia, therefore there's no growth, and so Master Duel and Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really stand on its own legs. Standard Yu-Gi-Oh anyway. Rush Duel is what Konami is currently developing, and if you disagree, you could watch my other video on it, but that is what is my opinion. Very, very solidly, that's my opinion.
While just sort of fanning the embers on the game we play until we can pay off our mortgage. Raran recently played about 5 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh just to see what it was like, and it did not go well. After getting his ass kicked for about the length of one Barbieheimer, he called it, but not before calling out the game we all know and love. His arguments were basically this. Disclosure! I'm kind of distilling his arguments here for the purposes of pacing. I know they're nuanced. We're trying to get out of here tonight, all right? 1. Yu-Gi-Oh!
How long was the stream, man?
got the worst new player experience of all time. 2.
True. Yu-Gi-Oh has a horrible new player experience. The tutorial is not enough. The tutorial is not enough. They don't teach you how to actually play the game. And also, it's a lot. It's a lot of fucking, like, stages. It's a lot of things to learn. It's a lot of things to digest. And a lot of them don't apply game to game. Like, when you're playing against a synchro deck, they're not fusing. When you're playing against, like, an Exceed deck, they're not, like, doing synchro summons, right? There are obviously exceptions. There are a lot of decks that do multiple types of special summons, but you know what I mean, right? It's like a lot of decks have their identity and they kind of stick to what they do best, and it's not like all encompassing. When you play against heroes, it's not nearly the same experience as playing against tier limits, right? When you play against like Rika, it's not nearly the same experience as playing versus Kashtira, right? They are very, very, very different in how they operate and what they do.
2, Yu-Gi-Oh's insanely complicated in a way that turns off potential new players.
True. True, it is insanely complicated. And if you want like proof as to like straight from the source, right? That Yu-Gi-Oh is complicated, just look at what Konami is doing. Look at how they're developing Rush Duel. Look at how they're not making a standard Yu-Gi-Oh anime. Look at how basically Vrains was core Yu-Gi-Oh anime's like death knell, right? They are putting their eggs into a different basket in terms of bringing in new players because they know it's a moot point. They know bringing in new players to enjoy this game that we play, this game that we like, is monumental task to try and teach people this game if they weren't hooked on nostalgia or by friends.
And 3, the core gameplay loop of Yu-Gi-Oh often isn't fun. And
I think that is subjective. I think there are a lot of fun things about Yu-Gi-Oh. I do think there are a lot of fun things about Yu-Gi-Oh, like when we are able to be toxic as hell and like break their board, right? It's fun. It is fun to, I mean, I can even understand from like a stun and floodgate player's perspective. It's fun to like basically, you can't play the game, It's really troll, it's really toxic, but I understand the appeal. The appeal is I do my cool, funny things and I stop you from playing the game. And that is like, in a sick, twisted way, that is fun. That's not unfun. It's unfun for the other guy. It's unfun for the other guy. And so if you're a new player, you're basically on the receiving end of all that unfun. But it's fun for me. It's fun for me to be toxic. And like, that's what I play Yu-Gi-Oh to do. Like I like controlling and like being in the driver's seat when I am, right? When I can be. And just like stopping my opponent from playing. It's fun. Those are fun moments, right? But I also like when Yu-Gi-Oh does get complex, when like tier 0 meta in Master Duel anyway, right? Where there is an intricate meta, where there is a dialogue, where there's a lot of back and forth. That's what I like and I enjoy. And that's something that not a lot of other people really like with Yu-Gi-Oh. Just think about tier elements, think about Sky Strikers, think about how they're not very liked. They do receive a lot of hate because their whole concept is they play on my turn. And if they play on my turn, then I can't do my funny little combo. And if I can't do my funny little combo, then why the hell am I playing this game? Right? There is a lot of truth in this statement, but I do think it is subjective at the end of the day. I think there is a lot of things to like about Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't think those things that we like about Yu-Gi-Oh is easy for a new player to grasp or even come to their own conclusions to. I don't think it's easy for a new player to reach those same conclusions. I don't think it's easy for a new player to reach those same feelings because they are always going to be on the receiving end unless they have someone teach them. Yep.
Oh, this is a far cry from 4 kids censored too many boobays. All right, let's do our best to kind of go through them.
Are Hearthstone and MTG like that, not allowing the other player to play the game? No, not really. Like, you have a win condition, obviously. You can win, right? But it's turn by turn. You pass turn. And I play my card, then I pass turn, then you play your 1 mana card, they pass turn, then I play my 2 mana card. It's back and forth, and there is a dialogue, there's an interaction. In Yu-Gi-Oh, because the only resource to manage is card advantage, and the best decks operate in the first turn or the second turn, then that's what you're going to get is everything happens on turn 1 and turn 2. And whatever follows next is probably didn't matter. Like realistically, turn 3, 4, 5, in most games, that doesn't matter. It was already decided by turn 1 or turn 2. MTG has some of that with control decks. MTG blue decks are like that, yeah. Even like it's not even just blue decks. Like think about like red green decks or whatever, right? I don't know what the color combination is called, but anything with like that's built on tempo, right? That has like battle cry, deal 3 damage to this creature, right? There's threats on the board, and if they get too far and too carried away, they will win the game. But otherwise, there are decks that like handle those mid-game threats. There are mid-range decks, there are aggro decks, there are control decks, there are also combo decks too. There are a huge variety of decks because there is a concept of timing, there's a concept of tempo in those games because you cannot play everything on turn 1, turn 2. You have to pass the turn back. You have to give the other player an opportunity. And so in like Yu-Gi-Oh, you can argue that, oh, well, I mean, the other player does have an opportunity. They have hand traps. They have Maxi. They have Ash Blossom. They have Imperm. Yes, but only if they opened it. Like, it's not all the time they open it, right?
He's completely right. Through Rayren's example, let's look at what the new player experience for Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually looks like. The first thing you do is download Master Duel and jump right in. So far, so good. The second is you do the tutorials, and immediately we have a problem. Old Rari is...
Yes, immediately we have a problem because the tutorials don't really teach you how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! They teach you what life points are. They teach you what attack points are and defense. Okay, and then maybe after that, they'll teach you how to special summon certain monsters and do a little bit of a combo that's not a deck that you will actually play. And then they'll teach you like Exceed Summon and Synchro Summon, but they won't teach you all the funny little combos that everyone who plays this game more than like 10 hours knows already how to do, you know? They don't teach you what an actual player does.
Is right on point when he explains the gameplay he experiences as a result of the tutorial is not analogous to a Yu-Gi-Oh game that has been played this decade. Sure,
Yes,
at some point you have
absolutely
to be
not.
taught the basics, things like what a normal summon is, how
Yeah.
you can set individual monster cards, how you go to the battle phase and individual monsters compare their attack stats with each other. That's all part of the core gameplay loop for sure. But nothing in the tutorial imparts to you that you are going to be playing at Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 speeds.
Bro, what the... Dude, MBT is my spirit animal. MBT, I always compare Yu-Gi-Oh! To Marvel vs. Capcom. In terms of fighting games, if you guys don't understand, Marvel vs. Capcom is like the sort of the originator of balls to the wall, crazy gameplay. Just everything's happening. There's level 1, 2, 3 supers going off. There are multiple supers going off. There's tag supers. There's different like 4 characters on the screen at any one point in Marvel vs. Capcom. It is insane. And Yu-Gi-Oh is exactly like that. It is exactly like that, except for the fact that the other player has to kind of sit and watch you do your funny little combos for most of the time. The funny thing is, it's like it's kind of the same in one way, in that it's ridiculous. What happens in a Yu-Gi-Oh game is ridiculous and does not happen in other card games. But the other flip side of that coin is that you basically, if you lose the coin flip, you have to kind of watch your opponent do crazy bullshit until you surrender or you win. You come back, you have a board breaker, I don't know. But typically you're basically surrendering and waiting to play the next game, and hopefully you win that coin flip so that you can do your funny little crazy combo. It is the pacing of MVC2 and MVC3. They are still ridiculous when you even compare it to Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter as a franchise and even 6 is a lot more grounded. It's a lot more slow paced. There's only one character for each player on both sides of the screen. It's a lot simpler than MVC2 and MVC3. But in a way, it's also more complex because there's just a lot more things going on. In a way, when you give too many tools and you give too many options to players, a lot of the times it kind of dilutes like what you should be doing to a single optimal thing. And what happens is that's kind of repeated ad nauseum. There's a lot of like meta characters in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and you see a lot of them. They are still playing the game to this day, and there are new strategies still being formed, but it's taking like decades. Just like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if you get hit, you can just chill and watch YouTube for a bit while the opponent does their funny little combo. Yes, that is a very good analogy, yeah. Yeah, the Marvel vs. Capcom analogy is like, it's so good. It's so good. And MBT is my spirit animal.
That the true goal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to combo your opponent into the wall so hard that they do not get a chance to play the game. And in doing so, you might take upwards of a 15-minute turn. Instead, It sells you on this premise of like, oh, Gemini Elf has more attack points than La Jin, so be careful if you put La Jin in your deck. At best, that's going to lead to a lot of disappointed players who either feel they got their time stolen by a tutorial that ended up not really mattering, or they're going to be disappointed because they wanted to play that style of game and it just doesn't exist anymore. Or alternatively, players are just going to thumb back in the tutorial like it's...
Wait, did they actually give you Gemini Elf and La Jin? I don't remember that. I thought it was like Crusadia or some weird warrior deck, right? I thought it was a warrior spam deck. I didn't know that. That's weird.
The Atla manuscript, like, where's the rest of it? What's a link summon? You know, they know what a link summon is. What's a U-link? You know. Frustrated at this, Mr. Rand jumps into casual mode. Casual mode, where you'd expect the casuals are. Instead, he basically gets his ass beat the entire time.
To be fair, there are casuals there. But yeah, I mean, in a game with Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's so much to learn, realistically, let's like assign levels to them. A level 3 casual in the eyes of a newcomer looks like an absolute giant. Remember when we saw Raran lose the first game? He lost to Decode Talker. Like, no one plays Decode Talker. But in his eyes, what he saw was just insanely more better than anything he could ever do, or anything he could ever hope to do within a week or two time, right? It's the disparity of knowledge and how crazy that gap is in terms of power with how much you know about the game is insane with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Bunch of individuals tell him that maybe he should consider playing the single player modes, which is like a decent idea, but it's also a bit of a mixed bag, right? There's like a 99% chance playing the single player mode means you're just learning the basic setup for a deck that you're never going to see again. And ideally, you'd like to, you know, play the game against another human sometime in the first dozen hours.
Yeah, because what do we play card games for? You have to remember that, like, Master Duel is a simulation of a card game, and it's a player versus player card game. I'm not here. You're not here. Newcomers are not here to play this player versus player card game with a computer. You're not. Like, no one's coming to Master Duel just so that, oh man, I really love World Legacy. I really want to know the story of World Legacy. Oh, Branded Despia, they have the new solo mode. That's sick. I need to know what happens next. No one's doing that. You are coming into Yu-Gi-Oh! Most likely because you've watched Duel Monsters, you like Dark Magician, you like Blue Eyes, you want to build it, you want to see, you want to understand what was going on. How do I make the 3-headed Blue Eyes White Dragon? I really want to know. I kind of want to do that myself. Oh, no one plays Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? Oh, wait, there's Link summoning? What does missing the timing mean? You know, there's a lot. There's just a lot, right? And people want to play the game versus someone else. They want to play the game with their friends. They want to play the game with another person eventually. They're not going to Master Duel to play the solo campaign mode. There are so many other card games that have you play versus a computer that are more interactive and more fun, more challenging, and more easy to learn too. Slay the Spire, right? That's just one. Fights in Tight Spaces. There's a lot of different card games. Marvel Champions. I have Marvel Champions on my desk right now. It's a great player versus environment card game, and it's a co-op card game too. It's really, really fun. And you play Marvel Champions because that's what they sell you on the tin. Play against a villain that is operated by the game system, essentially. Yu-Gi-Oh! What you sell, what the game is playing against another person. And if I can't do that, if newcomers can't do that easily, then why are they even playing solo mode? Why are they doing this to begin with? right? Personally, I don't really care for solo mode. I avoid solo mode like a plague because I would rather like cut off my left big toe than grind endlessly against brain dead AI that was designed to lose against you. And it's not even like designed to lose. Every game is designed to lose, pretty much, right? Any like player versus environment game is designed to lose, but it's also designed to provide you a challenge and something that's fun. And the AI in solo mode Yu-Gi-Oh, it isn't that. To be fair, Master Duel is the best simulator for new players since it constantly tells you what cards can be activated and show indicators of possible moves. Oh, sure. Because Master Duel is pretty much the only simulator out there that's mainstream enough that people understand and know exists. It's like the only choice, pretty much, for most people. The game is called Master Duel for a reason. The whole master part of the name kind of implies you need to know Yu-Gi-Oh for the most part. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Master Duel refers to the format of Yu-Gi-Oh! In Reigns, they call it either Speed Duel or Master Duel. And Master Duel just refers to basically the format. And I don't think it means that you have to be a master. Like, who actually makes a game and say, oh, you got to be a master to play this game? Like, that's not what it is. It's like, okay, we are a simulator for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not like, oh, you have to be a master to play this game. You have to be this tall to ride the ride. No, it's not. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator, and if you like Yu-Gi-Oh, you should play it. Well, hope you like the game. Like,
of opening a new product. Finally, the chatters throw in the towel and start recommending that he get another YouTuber to show him the ropes, or maybe someone who's played the game before to walk him through what he needs to be doing. Ranch describes this as coaching, which is an interesting way of looking at it. I'd always just assumed that having a guide on your Yu-Gi-Oh journey was the only way you could get into the game. But from a
pretty much, right? For most people, it is you have a guide, you have a friend who gets you into the game. And if you're not that, then for whatever reason, you were very in love with the anime and you took strides to learn it on your own and do your own homework and do your own research. But I'll tell you what, chat, that doesn't represent a large majority of people, because those other people probably have other homework, other research to do. They have other priorities and they have other games to play.
From a layman's perspective, it really is coaching to a degree. Why should you have to contact a third party to play a video game online? You don't need to pause Deltarune to figure out how to attack. They tell you in the game. So what does he end up doing? He plays Dragon Maid and functionally just clicks buttons for 20 or 30 minutes. Later, he graduates to Salamangreat by purchasing one of the precon decks, and later still, someone sends him a competitive Salamangreat list, which he crafts. Which
is great. Like, I feel like Raran like gave it a good shot. Like I said it before, I'll say it again. I think he gave it a good shot.
Brings us to 2. Yu-Gi-Oh's insanely complicated in a way that turns off new players. Why are we lying about this? A significant amount of the arguments in that Actman video that I peed my pants about were functionally just that Yu-Gi-Oh is too hard. There are some things that I think are quite...
I need to watch that Actman video again. I don't think I've really paid attention to it, but we should watch that video maybe sometime in the future.
Simple about Yu-Gi-Oh that for some reason old players can't get the grasp on. Xyz summoning and the like I feel is very intuitive. But importantly, in that video I did agree with and continue to agree with the concept that Yu-Gi-Oh is a really, really complicated game. I think we can all be realistic about it. I don't think we need to pretend that it's easy to learn. I took the piss out of that video we watched on stream in which someone says it's no more difficult to learn Yu-Gi-Oh than it is to learn Magic or Pokemon. And
Oh, you are so wrong. Oh my god, whoever said that. No, it's not. If you actually have that opinion, you never tried learning Magic, you never tried playing Pokemon. You are talking out of your ass if you think that Pokemon and Magic are harder to learn or as hard to learn as Yu-Gi-Oh. It's so fucking different. It is so different. The number of things you can do in a turn in Magic and Pokemon typically is very limited. It's very easy. It's very easy to understand what you're supposed to do because there's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of options turn by turn. It's only until later game where you do have the mana, or in Pokemon where you do have enough energy that you can do different things. You have more and more options. And in Pokemon, honestly, Pokemon is kind of similar to Yu-Gi-Oh in that it is almost like Marvel, and like, come on, they have like Professor Oak, discard 7, draw 7. You don't have to discard 7, right? There's like a lot going on with Pokemon, but still, like, it is still a lot easier to understand and learn because a lot of the cards in Magic and in Pokemon, they're the same. The same cards that I'm talking about are lands and energy, and so it is a lot. There are a lot less options in terms of turn by turn what you're supposed to do. It's a lot easier to follow. It's a lot easier to understand. Whoever said that just is talking straight out of their ass. They're disingenuous, or they're just totally misguided. Chess is easier because it's 1 mob per turn. It's 1 move per turn, right? It's not. Chess isn't easier. I didn't, and I'm not even so like my opinion. A lot of people like to say that Yu-Gi-Oh is complex. It's a complex and it's a complicated card game, and in my opinion, it's not. Like, to learn, yes, it is super complex. It is super complicated. It is really, really hard to learn. To play, to conversate, to communicate with another player what you're doing and what is happening on the board, what is happening in the game. It's a very easy game. It's very straightforward. It's very one note. It is very deterministic. It is not varied at all. So, and in chess, it's like way different, right? Chess, you only move 1 piece a turn, but it is the most strategic game, or not the most strategic game, but it is one of the most strategic games we have in this world.
Valley Ranch's video is a pretty good example of the fact that that is completely wrong. It's just super wrong. Magic the Gathering has a multitude of different mechanisms by which you can learn the game. Arena has a comprehensive tutorial. A significant amount of the formats are low investment and low power. Drafting gets you integrated into the game.
Drafting is such a good format, and it's so good. It's so easy to play draft format in Magic, and it's so easy to play, it's so easy to jump into, but the skill ceiling for draft is so fucking high. It is so high because drafting, and then you have to think about who you're passing the cards to, right? And you have to think about your mana curve, how you build your deck, and how you keep your options open. But in terms of getting into draft, it's just, I pick this funny creature and this funny creature, and I want 1, 2, 3, and maybe I stick to a single color. It's really easy to jump into draft, and because when you play Magic draft, the card power level is so drastically lower, and there's a theme in this pack that exists, and you can understand pretty easily. There's not a lot going on in draft games. There's a lot going on in draft deck building that the skill ceiling is so high. It's so exciting. It's so fun. It's really, really good. And the game itself is also really simple and easy to understand. It's a good game that is easy to play and hard to master. And that, in my opinion, I prefer those games. So the learning curve is also high. No, the learning curve for draft is not high because you can get into draft and you can just like pick 1 mana creature, 2 mana creature, and we'll fill up the lands, and I'll probably stick to a color, and it's easy. It's easy to understand. It's easy to play draft. It is hard to build good decks in draft, but it's easy to build a deck in draft. It's hard to build good decks in draft. It's easy to build a deck in draft, and it's easy to play draft. Does that make sense? Some places do draft, like with the new core sets for the Playmaster Special Edition card. Yeah, they do. But Yu-Gi-Oh is a hard game to draft without special rules to consider. There is I think Monster Lab rules or some. There was a box set in Yu-Gi-Oh where they did have a draft format, and me and my friends actually bought it and we played it, and it was fun. But you have to basically, archetypes don't exist in draft Yu-Gi-Oh. In draft Yu-Gi-Oh, archetypes don't exist, and if you say like, oh, search an Aqua monster, that search an Aqua monster turns into search any monster. It's interesting, but it's clearly not balanced for draft. Like, it's very clear that Yu-Gi-Oh is not balanced for draft. In Magic, pretty much all the sets, not all the sets, but majority of the sets are balanced for draft. Yeah, Battle Pack, that's what it's called.
game with literally no collection. Standard is one of the most popular ways to play the game and is not complex by design. And
It's not. One question, how do we explain the 11k cards this game has? Do other games have this many cards? No, they don't. Yeah, they don't. In Magic the Gathering, there are multiple different formats. In Standard, there is only a card pool of the last, let's say, 8 sets. The last 8 boxes in Magic are the only ones that are legal in Standard. That's a very simplified way of putting it, but essentially that is what it is. Is that only 8 boxes at a time are valid in Standard, right? So Magic has all these cards. Yes, John Doe, Magic has 50,000 cards. Magic does have all these cards, but to play the standard de facto mode of Magic, there's only a pool of maybe 600. I don't know. I don't really know exactly, but the pool of cards for a standard a standard card pool is very, very low. It is very, very low. And within those confines, I think there is a lot of creativity, and I think it is very fun. Especially when standard formats rotate and you like shelve 4 boxes and basically you are introducing new boxes box by box. Magic Standard's rotation, Legacy is what makes use of all of them. Yeah, Legacy, they have Modern, they have they have a lot of formats that take into consideration like different card pools and like how far you go back in Magic's timeline, essentially, to determine what is a legal cards pool for Magic.
And that's to say nothing about the introductory track to a game like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, which will just get you an understanding of the game in under 2 hours. Now, at the highest echelons of games like Magic the Gathering, there is a lot of complexity to be had. For instance, in Modern, there's a quadrillion different keywords that you're not going to remember on first glance. But unlike Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh's complexity is functionally just the same thing over and over, and it's insanely long cards that you have to intuit what they are going to do from a baseline knowledge of nothing.
And you have to intuit, like, the funny thing about Yu-Gi-Oh is that it is one of the only few card games that is merciless. It is ruthless. It is the only card game I know that is so brutally just like, if you screw up, you screwed up. You know what I mean? Like, Access Code Talker. Brilliant example, because Raran actually did it. If you activate Access Code Talker and you have no valid materials in your graveyard to banish to destroy a card on the field, guess what? Bye-bye, Access Code Talker. And it's like, wait, but I didn't mean to. Wait, I don't actually want to get rid of my Access Code Talker. That's how I was going to push for game. The other person on the other side of the table, who is also Master Duel in this case, they're going to say, nope, you declared activation. Bye-bye, Access Code Talker. That you told me. You said you were gonna activate Access Code Talker again, right? Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. That's what the other person on the table says. That's what Master Duel tells you, and that's how Yu-Gi-Oh is. And it's like one of the only card games that I know that does that. In Vanguard and Weiss Schwartz, in other like Japanese card games specifically, there are so many guardrails. There are so many like rules that you have to follow that tell you how the game is played that doesn't allow you really to screw up. There is no like optional. There is no misfiring effects. There is a lot of things are mandatory, and a lot of things are very like just strictly beneficial, right? There's not always like a trade-off. You know what I mean? There are also no-go back button Master Duel, super harsh on that front. Yeah, there isn't. Because guess what? In real life, it's in reality, the funny thing about Master Duel in that sense of like no-go back button, it is very similar to playing in like a sort of tournament setting where the person on the other side of the table is only interested in winning. And why shouldn't they be? They're here in the event with their friends. They drove like 20 miles to get there, right? 50 miles to get to that event. Yeah, they're going to want to win. They're going to want to do everything in their power to win. And if it means to rule shark you and call you out on your misplays and make you taste like the errors of your misplays, they're going to do it. I did it all the time in fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I'm not going to waste my time and on a chance of like losing. I really wish there was a setting for confirm. Yeah, no, there isn't. Paper game is actually, you know what the funny thing is, Darkly, is that Legends of Runeterra actually has like, they have like a blue eyeball little button. If you hover over the blue eyeball, it tells you what will happen in the sequence of events. Let's say you have a chain. Let's say you have a chain in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Imagine there is a button that you click and it shows you what happens as a result of that chain. You have to really be very well versed in the Yu-Gi-Oh language to be able to reliably predict what will happen next. And that is hard. That is incredibly difficult. That is not something most card games even allow you to do because they don't want the game to be hard to play. When you play in paper, you have to know. You have to know your stuff. Because if you don't know your stuff, guess what? The other person on the other end of the table, you cannot guarantee that they are an honest player. A lot of the times with Yu-Gi-Oh, the player that you're playing against is not honest. And maybe they don't even know. They don't even know how the game works. They don't even know how their card works or their deck works. But they've been told it works this way their entire time of playing the deck. So they're going to tell you what they know, or they're going to manipulate the odds in their favor by telling you a bold-faced lie, just to manipulate and make sure that they give themselves an edge to win. Yeah, some information that is readily available in Master Duel is considered a minor infraction in paper. For example, the dual log. Yep. You don't, there is no, log, right?
There's a part in the video that I think is pretty illustrative. RarXD plays against a Rika deck and hasn't opened any hand traps. I think he might not have been playing any hand traps. He might not know what a hand trap is. It's like his first day playing Yu-Gi-Oh! His opponent normal summons a Rika Petal, and he is frantically scrolling through the text on that card while trying to figure out what it means that they are about to add a Rika card from their deck to their hand. They get Con, and imagine your first ranked experience
being against Rika, dude.
Trying to navigate what it means to tribute an opponent's monster to pay the cost of an effect you are activating. Because he's open no interaction, his opponent proceeds to combo off for, no joke, 10 or 15 minutes, at which point functionally he just dies instantly. There's a difference between the complexity in something like assembling a doomsday pile in Legacy and the complexity that is, you are now going to have to speed read 900 words. And your
Just like in real life, knowledge is the most important thing when doing anything. No, it's not. No, it's not. Knowledge is not the most important thing. There's a lot of factors in life that you can rely on and utilize to mitigate knowledge. Knowledge is not the most important thing. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh player mindset. Knowledge is not the only thing you need in life to succeed. You have a lot of ability in real life to go places on your charisma, on your ability to make friends and talk and conversate, on being able to relate to someone, empathy, right? You have a lot of ways, your strength, your looks, your beauty, your talents. There's so many things that help you in life than knowledge. In Yu-Gi-Oh, money, environment, right? In Yu-Gi-Oh, the only thing that fuels your strength and power is knowledge, really, right? It is the only determiner of your strength. When I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, my first local tournament, my opponent told me that you can't chain higher than 3. I told him I was new, but people will try to cheat for a win. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely they will. Absolutely. I've been playing... When I played paper, I played the game for 3 or 4 years. I met so many different types of people. I've played against so many different types of other players. They range from the most honor bound to the most scummy. And a lot of them or dumb. A lot of them are not very knowledgeable of how their deck works, and also they're very scummy. A lot of them. But there are very good players in Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, they're obviously very honest people, for sure.
Comprehension better be out of this world. Even in games with a lot of hidden information like Magic the Gathering, they've built into the game a way you can intuit from a knowledge base of almost zero what your opponent might be up to. If they're on blue, you can expect there might be counter spells in the deck. If they're on black, there's probably some spot removal. In Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right, yeah. The thing about that is a really good point. In Magic, the colors indicate their identity. right? Color identity is a huge thing in Magic. It's a theme that persists from color to color. It gives them an identity. It gives them a sort of like a baseline understanding of what this deck might want to do. Blue decks like to draw. They like to counterspell. They like to control the game. They usually like to go. They usually pop off later in the game. They like to bounce a lot of things. White likes to gain life. They like to heal. They like to empower their own creatures. They like to start with small creatures and make them bigger, right? But not too big. They like to spam a lot of small creatures, right? Black likes to remove things. They have effects that proc when their allies die, right? There's a lot of like color identity in Magic that kind of allow you to intuit and understand and have a baseline understanding of what they might want to do. In Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know what the hell Rika is going to do until I play against a Rika. I don't know what the hell plants are going to do. There's so many different plant decks. There's so many different warrior decks. Does Elemental Heroes work the same way as Sky Striker, where Sky Striker has Ray as their centerpiece monster is a warrior? No. Warriors don't do... There's no commonality between any of the warrior decks. There's hardly any commonality between any of them. Light decks, fire decks, dark decks? No. It's only the name. It's only the archetype that tells you what this deck wants to do. And good luck knowing that before facing them. You would have to learn the hard way. Yu-Gi-Oh! Really do be like Justin Wong. They gonna say, you gonna learn today. You gonna learn today what Kashtira do. Like, what type is Telements? Telements are mostly aqua type. Do they have any similarity with Goaty, which is also an aqua fish type? No. There's like zero similarity.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Encountering a card like Branded Fusion for the first time is going to take you about 90 seconds to read the card and then 15 minutes to try and figure out what the hell your opponent is setting up. The end
Branded Fusion is a beautiful example too, because Branded Fusion brings up like an unknown fusion monster. It's like, okay, you're gonna fusion summon. Okay, I guess I let that go. I don't know what you're even gonna fusion summon. Oh, you have Lubellion? Okay, and Lubellion's gonna discard a card so that you fusion summon again? Oh, alright. It's like, you gonna learn today. If you don't know what Branded does now, you're gonna learn today. And then it happens, and then you're like, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I know I got my ass beat.
The result, if you're a new player playing by yourself on a ladder system, is that you lose. You lose constantly. You lose to good decks, you lose to bad decks, you lose to everything in between, and in the meantime, you read about as many words as Homestuck. Be real. There's a period where, after reading the 9th flower card and your opponent has activated that turn, you just stop. Something in your brain clicks and you say, all right, I have no further interaction. Do what you must. I will trust you are not cheating. No card game should have a moment where one of the players decides they are done playing before they've had a turn. And certainly that...
Yeah, no, that's fun. That's fun too. In Paper Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like no hand traps. No hand traps. And then sometimes people will be like, yo, can I just skip to the end? Like when I was playing like, when I see people like sometimes play like Ritual Beast, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do Elder into Canahawk, and then we're gonna Contact Fusion into Ulti Canahawk, and then Canahawk is gonna send 2 of the banished monsters, but actually it's only gonna send 1. It's only gonna send 1 because I changed Canahawk's effect to defuse and summon the 2 Tamer and Beast, and as long as I send 1, I can add a card for my... It's like, what? It's what? It's... I hope you're not cheating. I hope you're not cheating. What? You can only send 1 of them? It says 2. Are you sure? No, I'm pretty sure it's only... I only need to send 1, really. I mean, I can do this funny little chain thing.
That moment should not happen every game, which brings me to...
Yu-Gi-Oh!
So
isn't
Rednu
fun.
doesn't actually ever say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't fun. But it's pretty clear that he thinks it. The entire time he's just checked all the way out, upset at how the game is playing out and what he has to do to even engage with it. People in chat start saying absolutely insane. Maybe you're not the right type of person for Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe you don't have the attention span necessary.
Dude, that is so condescending. Maybe you should go back to TikTok and go scroll those NPC streamers, huh? Maybe your little tiny brain, your tiny little Hearthstone brain can only interpret the fun that is from TikTok. Maybe you should just go back to TikTok, Raran, you little funny Hearthstone card game streamer, you little dumbass. It's like, bro, I'm just trying to learn this game. I'm just trying to make content for this game, man. I thought it would look cool. I thought it would be fun because I play card games for a living. I thought it would be a good experience. I mean, f- me, I try to learn this game. Like, it's insane how condescending a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh community is. Bro, get good at. Oh, just read. Why don't you? It happens in my chat too. Why don't you just read the cards, Rednu? Why don't you just read the cards? It's like, I don't want to fucking read. I don't want to be streaming here, sitting on my chair, melting in this summer heat, reading cards. Okay, I'm gonna learn the hard way, and I can do that. I can take it. I can take the hit. I'm just gonna learn the hard way and understand what's happening just from visually what's happening in Master Duel. And if I really need to do it, I will read the card. I will read the card if I'm getting burned multiple times. It's obviously something I'm not understanding. I will read the card because I have that experience. I know that that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is. I'm not gonna waste my life reading the card. There's also a time limit. I have to read chat. I have to entertain you guys. There's a lot of things going on that I am not going to give up just so that I could read the card and win this funny little card game. I'm gonna read this card. And if I don't face that deck in the next 20 matches or the next 10 matches, and if I don't face it more than 3 or 4 times, whatever I read is going to go out the other way because I don't need to retain that information if it's not important, if it's not necessary. I don't need to retain it. Whatever I read, it's just going to go out the other way. So why would I bother reading when I can just see what it does? And then maybe next time if I finally, if I happen to run across this weird obscure deck in the future, I will remember. It's like it's incredibly just, why would I read? Why would I want to?
For it, the guy has been playing it for about 5 hours straight. He's devoted a pretty significant amount of time to the game.
Yeah.
He's frustrated that even at this position, he can't engage with it at all. But even in a best-case scenario where the light of divination shines upon Raran, he might just not like the game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is incredibly zero-sum. He starts to figure this out over the course of the video, saying things like, I need to be going first so I can prevent my opponent from playing.
Yep, that is core Yu-Gi-Oh! That is standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Yep, that's it. He's learning.
Significant amount of playing this game is ensuring that one player at the table is having absolutely no fun whatsoever. It's a skill-based game for sure, but a significant amount of that skill is expressed in a way that prevents your opponent from ever accessing their reserves of understanding. And that sucks, right? Thinking that this game uniquely has a learning cliff that other card games have already figured out a way to manage. We refuse to do so, and the end result is a game that frequently just straight up looks like solitaire. I think that the paper...
Oh my god. MBT, you're gonna make way too many people mad. You're gonna make way too many people mad. It is solitaire, man. Just lose for 6 months, then you'll understand. Just lose for 6 months. Just grind this game, bro. Just grind this game. Come on, dude. Just grind the game, man. Just grind the game. Come on. I promise you. After 6 months, you'll love the game. It'll be so great. It'll be so fun. It's like, I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate 3. Bye.
Paper card game has done a uniquely good job of beating back this type of criticism in recent years, stopping the design decisions that dominated the back half of the 10s and the early part of the COVID era. I think decks like Sprite and Tearlament and IKEA Lab and individual cards like Fenrir and Triple Tack and Thrust have done an amazing job at giving players options going both first and second and the potential to be playing pretty much that entire time. But unless...
That's great. Oh my god, that was beautiful, MBT. Holy shit. All those cards he mentioned, they are so good. And Tearlament itself as an archetype, it's chef's kiss. I love it. It's like one of my favorites. Kashtira is like, it is like cancerous, but you can't deny the fact that it is a nice like archetype to slot into your deck, a nice engine to fit into your deck so that you have a better shot of going second. Triple tactics talent thrust as well. They're just so good. They help you go second, and they're very well designed. I like those. I like the design for the cards for sure, but it's just recently that we have it. It's like he understands, yeah.
Unless a new player is lucky enough to have picked one of those 3 decks out of a hat, they're going to probably be...
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the solitaire that becomes fun when you are the only one doing it to someone else? Yeah. Because guess what, right? Solitaire is a one-player game. So only one player is having fun. The other guys are just watching.
Be playing a deck that's main game plan is to prevent your opponent from ever drawing a card that could conceivably threaten them. And that sucks. This type of video does worry me, and as Master Duel has become more and more popular, these videos have become more and more frequent. Big name streamers are trying out Yu-Gi-Oh! Excited to play the game that they remember from their childhood, summoning the Blue Eyes White Dragon and the Dark Magician, only to be told that that kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Never really existed outside of the playground.
Dude, that's so true. As far as yeah, I totally forgot. Like at the beginning of this video, I was like, the Act Man. Wait, what? And then I'm like, oh, in the middle, I'm like, oh yeah, the Act Man did do a video. He did do a video about Master Duel and how he basically cannot like keep up with the game because it's way too much. It's way too hard. I think he even knows what like an Exceed Summon is, but even then it's like, there's so much shit going on. And is it really fun? Is it really nostalgic when you have like, when you're staring down a board of like Appaloosa with 2600 attack, Baron de Fleur, and Pendulum Dark Magician of like whatever Omni negates? Like, there's a lot that's going on, and it's hard, and it's disheartening to see like I can imagine from your guys' perspective, right? And like for me, I don't really care if anyone really like if big personalities or new players come to like the game. I really don't like mind. But as someone like who is in love with the game, who mains Yu-Gi-Oh, who plays the game, I can understand that perspective of like, dang, it kind of sucks that the game I really like, it's hard for other people to play it. That means I only get to play against the same people, and what happens when they stop playing the game? It's kind of sad. It's hard. And you see these big names and you see these personalities, they're giving it an earnest shot. They're trying to give it like an honest to God try. And it sucks when they run into the walls that we know exist, that we pretend don't exist. And at least for me, it's like, I hate it. I hate it when people like obfuscate the truth, when they are willfully ignorant, when they prefer to just not look at the problem for what it is. Like, there's a problem in front of you, and while you might not really have the power to do too much about it, the least you could do is acknowledge that it exists. And if enough people acknowledge that these problems exist, maybe then you could enact change. But then it's like, when everyone wants to stay in their bubble of like, oh no, I mean, I like to play my super complex card game, and it's like, it's so fun, it's so great. I mean, maybe we won't be playing it in 10 years, but I mean, I've been playing it for 25 years now. It's like, you know, it's just like I think it sucks when people give it an earnest shot and they're only met with the door to the face, you know? Even if they are like, oh yeah, I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to learn. It's like, okay, what's this deck do? Oh, Labyrinth? Okay, cool. I mean, cool, hot, lovely Labyrinth, armpit mommy? Yeah, I'm totally aboard. Oh, wait a minute, they play traps? Oh, wait a minute, they have these weird little furniture cards? Oh, it's like, there's a lot of like, if you build certain decks, good luck like being able to build something else, you know? It's hard to learn or understand like what you want to play, especially without like color identity or anything. You have to kind of take a chance, or you have to do a lot of research, right? You have to watch me. You have to watch my content. You have to watch my guides, my Sky Striker guide, my Dragon Maid guide. I'll tell you what these decks do. I'll tell you what these decks do. But that's already putting you above most casual people. Most casual people aren't going to YouTube to watch guides on how to play a children's card game. They're just not. The least they could do is let you trial the archetype. That'd be nice, yeah. In solo mode. And that is kind of what they're doing with solo mode, to be fair. But I don't think the loner decks... I mean, chat, tell me, are the loner decks in solo mode good? Within the archetype, are the loner decks in solo mode good? Because I can tell you one thing. In Shadowverse, the loner decks in story mode are good. In Shadowverse, they actually let you play good decks in story mode. Usually not. No, nah. They have been getting better. That's good. They play old cards. That sucks. Yeah. And so, like, that's another barrier. If you didn't get over if you got over the first barrier of, okay, I understand this is a hard game to learn. It is a hard game to learn. It is also a hard game to master. I'm going to do what I can, though. I'm going to research. I'm going to put in the time, the effort. Okay. What deck do I play? Right? Oh, these solo mode decks don't actually teach me the archetype I want to play. And you have, like, you go solo mode, you play this one archetype, and you're like, oh, I kind of like how this plays. Okay, sure. Let me craft the cards. Oh, wait a minute. These cards kind of suck. Oh, it's outdated? You're telling me this deck is outdated? It's like, if you got over the first hurdle, don't worry. There's like 100 other hurdles for you along the road. Yeah, I almost crafted a solo mode deck until I did research. Yeah, I imagine, like, if you're on your own, there are so many ways for you to fall in a pit hole, in a pitfall trap with Yu-Gi-Oh. And maybe that's no surprise, because that's kind of how the game is itself. There are so many ways to screw yourself over. Activating Access Code Talker with no materials in the grave. I didn't mean to do that. Well, now you did it. Banish your Access Code Talker.
That would be a compelling pitch if we could follow it up with, but there is a super cool balls to the wall combo battle cruiser magic style gameplay that's replaced it that's infinitely more fun. Instead, we frequently get to respond with, now there's this card in the game called Maxi that if you activate, you win immediately. Where's it come from? Oh, the hand. You can't interact with it. In short, nope. We've got a problem.
Oh, you can play Gamma. But you can play Gamma, MBT. You're so dumb, man. MBT don't know Gamma. Gamma exists. Gamma is a card. But how does he forget like Gamma?
It's the same problem that they're identifying in Konami board meetings now. New players are just not coming in as much as we'd like. We've got far and away the sleekest client to play our game and a really generous monetization model, and people just aren't willing to hammer it out. As a community, we have to stop lying to ourselves about issues of complexity. The difficulty in parsing this game as a new player is something that people are increasingly unwilling to rankle with. There's a comment on Farfa's response to this video where someone says something along the lines of, oh, well, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh's difficult, but it sucks that he started with Dragon Maid and Salamangreat. Those are two of the most complicated decks in the game, which is just...
What? There's, like, so many things wrong with that. There's, like, so many things wrong with that. Like, first of all, Dragon Maid and, like, Salamangreat, yeah, it's kind of confusing what they can do. But... I mean, as far as how to play them and their gameplay loop, it's very simple. It's very simple. They're not easy to learn. And that's why I made the Dragon Maid guide. Is because this deck is not easy to learn, right? But once you learn it, Dragon Maid is extremely simple. It is extremely simple in what it's trying to do and what reactions it has to your opponent and what is available to them, what resources they have to manage. It is extremely easy. So it's like... if Raran isn't supposed to start with like Dragon Maid, or if Raran isn't supposed to start with Salamangreat, which is also an easy wombo combo deck, it's like, what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? What deck is he supposed to play?
Just not remotely true. I wouldn't put either of them in the top 100. But if those decks, our baseline decks, are considered too complex, maybe something went wrong so long ago, we don't have a chance to change it anymore. Finally,
nope. Yu-Gi-Oh is the way it is, and guess what? The people that do play Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of us here, we like it for what it is, and we're fine with it. And the only thing that I ask people to do is to acknowledge why you like it. You like it because it allows you to be pretty toxic. It allows you to have your fun. It allows you to do your funny little combos and stop the opponent from playing. That's why you like it. And that's okay. You can like it. But that's why you like it. Right? There are like that is not an absolutist statement. It is a likelihood statement. It is a likely statement. What it is it describes a lot of people. It's I have fun when I do my funny little solitaire combo. I have no fun when I lose coin flip and I can't do my funny little solitaire combo. That's a lot of people in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I think this year has really just been our come to Hortaki moment, right? Master Duel was a blessing in that it exposed the game to more people than ever before, but it also shone a light directly on the fact that the player base is increasingly a group of people who play because they got in on the ground floor in 2002. And that's why I came away from this
It doesn't even have to be 2002. It's like at any point in time where we don't have what we have now, Exceed Synchro, I would say is a good entry point too. But the thing is, I think a lot of players take for granted what it took to understand the game at the level they understand it now. You guys take for granted all the knowledge you've acquired, all the knowledge you've attained about how the game works until now. You think it's like simple because, I mean, you've been told you're stupid so many times for learning this deck and falling for mistakes and whatever, right? You've been told you're stupid for so many times. And if you were stupid for falling for those mistakes, then those new people that are trying to learn the game, they must be stupid. Obviously, they must be dumb. You're going to call them stupid too, right? There is a lot. This game is a lot. And like, let's not, you shouldn't take that for granted. It is a lot. This game, to learn, to play, to understand what's going on, it is a lot. Absolutely.
This video, just a little bit disappointed. It sucks to see someone who loves card games as much as Rastafarian turned off from what is, in my opinion, the best one because the new player experience.
Why does he keep changing his name? He's like Rastafarian, RarXT, Raran. How does he do it so naturally with a straight face? Oh.
Is dismal and the cards are way too complex for any mortal person to comprehend at first glance. These types of people should be our bread and butter. Individuals who are really integrated into thinking about card games, using their systems, and excited to try new ones. But instead, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. We can't seem to grab the Yugi boomers because their concerns range from incomprehensible to why the Blue Eyes White Dragon no win, and we can't grab potential new competitive players because the game sucks for about a year. Man, feels weird to just come out swinging against Actman and then functionally agree with this YouTuber for 20 minutes. Let me see if I can find one of his opinions that I can disagree with.
It's like, at this point, you can't disagree. You can't disagree. Like, your livelihood is on the line, but you can't disagree. The Actman did it. Raran did it. Guess what? There are going to be more. There are going to be more people who are like, oh, I want to try this funny little card game. Yeah, I watched the anime as a kid. It was fun. It was awesome. Yeah, let's try it out. Oh, what are you doing? You're activating Tearlament Soliak? Okay, what does that do? Oh, that's negating my effect. I can't do my funny little thing. Oh, and you're gonna mill 8 and feel great? Ooh. Okay, and then what does that do? Oh, you get to fusion without polymerization? Oh, okay. That's weird. Oh, all right. And oh, this monster says I can't special summon? Oh. All right. It's like, hey, Rednu, your VTuber friend that you teach, she's still playing? She's still playing. Rena is playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, but she is, I mean, Rena is awesome. She's great, right? And, I consider her a friend anyway. But she is playing Yu-Gi-Oh! She's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! just kind of like, I'm gonna play this card and this card and this card, and then hopefully I win. You know, it's not like most people aren't playing this. Like, most people who play this game don't understand what's going on. And it's not just Rena. It's like, just most people who play this game and even make content for this game, they don't really know what's going on that well. You know, they don't know what to look out for. They don't learn from their mistakes, and it's like, it's not a knock on them. The game is hard. The game is difficult. It's not a knock on them. It is exhausting to try and learn this game. It is absolutely exhausting.
Agree with. About 3/4 of the way.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find one of his opinions that I can disagree with. About 3/4 of the way through the video, he says something while his opponent is in minute 9 of comboing off, to the degree of, this is why every other card game has a resource system. I can work with that. Okay, first, what he means here is exactly mana. There are resources in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're just not mana. They're things like cards in hand. They're hard once per turn. There's zones sometimes. But I think...
I was going to say, like, the only resource really is cards in hand, but, I mean, yes, there is technically zones. You can even say your one normal summon a turn is a resource. You can say that, what else did he say was a resource? Like,
they're just not mana. They're things like cards in hand. They're hard once per turn. There's
hard once per turn, soft once per turns. It's like, yeah, kinda. Technically, you're right, but really, no. It's the pacing of the card game is dictated pretty much solely on the number of cards and the quality of the cards that you have in your hand.
Zones sometimes. But I think the assumption that all card games need effectively a mana system comes from the fact that all card games have a common ancestor in Magic the Gathering.
I don't think so. Like, if Raran is saying that, oh, all card games need a mana system, no, I don't agree with that. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is special. I think Yu-Gi-Oh can exist the way it does, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh is made and it was maintained and it is kept the way it is to cater to the people who like it. And you guys who like it and who love it to bits, you are not invalid. You just like different things, and that's fine. Like, and I like it too. I like it for certain reasons, the way I like it, right? I like it when there are things that break the mold and, you know, kind of change up the pace a bit, right? But I also like being incredibly toxic. So, like, there are things that I like about Yu-Gi-Oh too. But I'm honest about... I feel like, for me, I like to be honest about my reasonings for liking the game.
There's very much a way that a game without mana could be very cool. The other one of the big three, Pokemon, lets you take 1 billion actions per turn. There's, like, energy, but there's 1 million cards that let you cheat the energy limit. So, yeah, take that. Be more imaginative. We must envision a world in which there doesn't need to be a land. All right, that's all I got. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, oh, you should team up with Rat Race and show him how to play the card game. But, like, doesn't that prove his point?
Yeah.
The only way you can get into the game is if someone who's played it for 21 years teaches you how to link summon a Salamangreat. Ideally, we shouldn't have to fly Simo out every time someone wants to learn how to play the card game.
Beautiful. I love it. Great video. Ah, so good. He just puts up such great examples, and he's my spirit animal. The Marvel vs. Capcom 3 analogy, so good. Make sure, if you guys aren't subscribed to MBT already, and you guys like Yu-Gi-Oh, you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, you better subscribe to him now, because he is probably one of the most sensible personalities in this space that also articulates his points very, very nicely. I really like his content, and I think he's definitely someone you should be watching if you aren't already, for sure, especially if you like this game. And this video was very good. I think it is a very somber or sober look at the game, right? It is a very, how would you say? Like, it is a very empathetic and, like, very broad view of what the game is for what it is. And I think he's made very excellent points that I didn't even think about, that I agree with. and I don't think I can find a single thing here that I do disagree with. I think there was like one thing I disagreed with, just a very minor thing somewhere around this point, but it was just very, very minor. I think it was very, very minor. But yeah, great video. Very good. As someone who never played Yu-Gi-Oh until Master Duel came out, I'm glad the community is starting to talk more about these issues with the game. It was a pain in the to learn this game. And even now, sometimes I feel like I don't understand what's going on after playing this game for over a year. Dude, the internal state of Yu-Gi-Oh is that there are some moments where you just have to concede. You're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to see what's going on. And then I'll make my determination and my decision after that. I've been watching Ryan for about a year. He's been experimenting with a lot of other card games lately, so I knew that him trying Yu-Gi-Oh out would be an absolute disaster. Oh man. I knew that it would be I saw this train wreck happening way before. I played for over 20 years and I don't understand 100% of what's happening all the time. I just can't intuit what decks want to do because I'm experienced. Yeah, or what the cards on the board want to do. But you have to understand that even Konami concedes this. Even Konami understands that their game is hard to learn. Which is why, and everyone hates me for saying it, but this is why they're making Rush Duel. This is why there's no standard Yu-Gi-Oh anime. This is why Rush Duel got a season 2 in Go Rush. It is currently airing. This is why we have a simplified version of Yu-Gi-Oh. This is why we had speed duels. This is why we had duel links. This is why the game is what it is right now. It is. It simply is. They've thrown in the towel. They will keep making new cards as long as people keep buying them and it's cheap. But they have effectively said, we're not going to get any new players into this game. We're not going to get any fresh, dewy-eyed children to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Master Duel format. I'm not going to make... If I can't do that, then I'm not going to make a new anime. I'm not going to make toys. I am going to make another game, and it's going to be a little more easier to learn. Everyone hates me for saying it. And this was a tweet that Raran did. I don't know if it was on the stream day or when he uploaded the video, but he says, Magic Arena did a great job of explaining the game mechanics. I showcased how the game is played, and it translates over to playing real games. I didn't need a guide to watch a YouTube video or anything. That's how a game should introduce players. I 110% agree with this. I 100% agree with this. I like this comment. Farfa. It's important to remember that the fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is its complexity and little intricacies. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like that it's difficult and crazy. It's niche and it's not for everyone, but that is the allure of the modern game. He is not wrong in the slightest. But he is pointing out a fact that is also not really addressing what Raran is saying, right? Or rather, the overarching point that he's trying to make is that this game is incredibly hard to learn on your own. Good luck if you don't have a guide. And good luck getting any new players, because it's going to be difficult. Master Duel is just here to... It's kind of like a last bid, almost. But also, it's just been a long time coming, right? Master Duel didn't have a lot of high hopes for it, I would have to say. Because just think about what Master Duel came with, okay? What did the first Master Duel shops look like, right? If I go into Master Duel right now, right, I can tell you what was available in the shop on day one. Day one, Master Duel shop, didn't even have Laundry Dragon Maid. I think you maybe had like one thing you can buy here with like maybe Dark Magician and maybe Blue Eyes, right? The mats that you could buy, I think there was this one, the Karakuri one, the Volcano one, and I think it might have been Ritual Cage and Gear Town. I think Ritual Cage might have came later. So like there was just not a lot of money put into this game, right? How do I know there wasn't a lot of money put in this game? Because look at how little voiced assets there is. There's no voice actors. There's no anime, right? It's all very surface level cosmetic, right? It's all very, very low budget. Well, you're buying avatars. You're buying icons, okay? In another game, in a different universe, you have Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. And in Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel, they went ham. Look at this game. This game, as crap and as shit as it is, looks beautiful. Dark Magician Girl in 3D, hovering over her card form, being summoned. She's voiced. And guess what, guys? Guess what? Not only is she voiced, Yugi is voiced. The NPCs are voiced. They have Seto Kaiba talking shit to you during a game. There's 4-player co-op. They designed an entirely different game for this mode, for Cross Duel. They have this beautiful summoning animation, all this budget, all this money thrown into the trash because this game was supposed to make a lot of money and they really needed it to make a lot of money. That's why they had the worst monetization known to man. They had the worst monetization system ever. You guys, some of you guys don't even know that this game existed. This game existed for all of 3 months. Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel website. If I go over here and I check out the notices, September 6th, commencement of global release. On March of 28th, notice regarding end of service. This game died in 6 months. In 6 months and half a year, this game died. There was so much money poured into this game to try and make it a success and try to milk as much money as possible. I know Master Duel is low budget because Master Duel doesn't have Ojama King in 3D with a bulge. It doesn't have Blue Eyes White Dragon with shining eyes and crazy ass animations. It doesn't have all of this. It doesn't have Kaiba talking to you. I know Master Duel is low budget because I know what Konami could have done. They could have done this for Master Duel, but they didn't because Master Duel is very free to play friendly. It is meant, the strategy behind Master Duel is to let as many people play the game as possible because guess what? We are having a hard time getting people playing the standard Yu-Gi-Oh card game. Big surprise, it's hard to play. Well, we better make the game as free-to-play friendly as possible, and we'll try and show that this game does have legs. We'll try and show that people are still interested in this game, that they are willing to play it, and they are willing to still spend money on this game. And it's going to be a slow climb. And they are coming out with new stuff. Like, this stuff is beautiful. This stuff is great. But it's still not what we're going to have with Cross Duel, or what we did have with Cross Duel. What are you guys saying? I want to read some of your comments. That's true. It was released with no press or coverage. It got shadow release, and to Konami's surprise, it was actually popular. Yep. Where's my Kid Kalos mate? Is she safe? After the many console games, Master Duel was a long time coming. Players have been begging for an official multiplayer simulator. You could say it's been a long time coming, but then look at like Vanguard Deer Days. Everyone wants a Vanguard simulator. They'll never get a Master Duel Vanguard simulator because there is like some upfront investment in making this like card game. But they're just silly. I think Bushiroad is totally like, they have their heads so far up their asses. Bushiroad. They have no idea what the hell they're supposed to do to make Vanguard actually work. It sucks. It sucks for Vanguard fans. It was the aggressive monetization and crappy upgrade system that turned me off. Would have given it a fair go otherwise. Yeah, of course. The monetization sucked dick on that game. It was so aggressive. It was super aggressive. To be fair, Konami has been slowly separating the anime from the master format and trying to take cards into mascots like Albaz and Ray have been very pushed the past couple years. You know, you have a point, Blaze. You do have a point. Like, why would we put more anime assets when there's not going to be more anime for Yu-Gi-Oh! When there is an end line, right? Let's get people invested into the world, into the archetype, into the different storylines that we have here in the cards. Let's get people invested into that. And so that is Master Duel. Master Duel is a bid for that. Master Duel was very rough at launch, but I wouldn't say that it was low budget. It's not very different from various other digital-only games. It is so different. It is so different. It is so different. Look at like Magic Arena or even like Hearthstone. It is so different. There are so many ways they are monetizing their games, and so many different game modes too. In my opinion, Cross Duel biggest flop is the Gacha Ace Monster, which really takes a ton of luck. Oh yeah, it's bad. Cross Duel couldn't even make first anniversary the hallmark of a decent gacha game. Isn't Master Duel closer to actual games versus like Duel Link and Cross Duels? It is. It is closer to the actual game. But that's not why Cross Duels or Duel Link failed. Cross Duels and Duel Links right now are... Cross Duel failed and Duel Links right now is not doing very well because the monetization for those games is super aggressive. And Master Duel is their opportunity to kind of learn from that. All right, guys. I think that's about it for this React content. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I am very interested in hearing what you guys have to think and your opinions. So let me know what you think in the comments below for sure. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. I love talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! I love sharing my opinions. I'm in love with my opinions, and I love your guys' opinions too. So let me know in the comments, okay? I will see you guys on the next one.